services to areas where the traditional banking access is very limited. So wherever there is a very limited access in all those areas, this rural banking is going to provide the services. And main intention of this rural banking is to support agriculture, small scale enterprises, and cottage industries, making sure that people in rural areas will also be able to fulfill their financial needs and improve their own livelihoods. So this financial services, whatever are going to be given, those all are going to help in improving the livelihood of the rural people. And coming to the main what is called rural banking. It is going to refer to the network of financial institutions which are going to operate specifically to cater to all the financial rural needs of rural communities. And these communities often face the challenges in accessing the formal banking services, but rural bank is the one which is going to fill the gap mainly by giving a focus on agriculture, cottage industries, and small scale enterprises. So the main three players in rural banking are cooperative banks, regional rural banks, and rural branches of commercial banks. So the best examples for rural branches of commercial banks are like SBI, ICICI, HDFC, Axis, Canara Bank, Punjab National Bank. So these are the various types of branches, banks, commercial banks, which have their own branches in all the rural areas. And the main objectives of this rural banking is financial inclusion. So the main goal is, it means that ensuring that every individual and businesses in rural areas has going to access to formal banking services, including the savings, account openings, loans, insurance, and also remittances of payments. All this can be scattered. So if any of the farmer in remote village doesn't have a bank account, then through rural banking, the bank open the branches in such areas to offer all the mobile banking services, and making that farmer or the local people feel that there is one security for their deposits, and they can safely deposit their money into those branches of bank. Not only for savings, even they can access for the loans. So mainly this financial inclusion is going to reduce the dependency of the rural people on the private money lenders, so that higher interest rates need not to be paid by these people. Coming to the next objective, credit availability. So if any of the person in rural area, if need a loan, this rural banks are going to provide the credit, if for either agriculture, for rural enterprises, or for any of the small scale businesses, and they are going to access loans and financial resources to grow the business or increase the productivity, and ultimately to increase the income and standard of living of the rural people. So if any person want to take, like a farmer, if we take an example, if he want to take a crop loan to buy some seeds, fertilizers, or something, and want to repay that amount after the harvest. Similarly, a small shop owner, he might want to increase the inventory of his business. So for these type of needs, the rural banks are going to provide the credit. And not only to the agricultural activities, but for non-agricultural activities also, the loans will be provided through crop loans for farmers to finance the planting season, Kisan credit cards for quick and flexible credit, and loans given for cottage industries such as like weaving, pottery, for dairy farming, So for all these type of needs also, the financial services, loans are provided by the rural banks. And coming to the next objective, improvement in rural infrastructure. So they are going to play a major role in improving the infrastructure by enhancing some projects like transportation, irrigation system, rural electricity, and various other critical facilities wherein are not there in that rural areas. So these, with the support of rural projects, the improvement can be possible. Coming to the next, what is rural finance? What all the objectives and the services of rural bank I said. So the money which is provided to all these types of services or to the needs which are there, that all is called as rural finance. So the financial services which are provided to the rural areas for agriculture purpose or rural purpose or for households, for any of the purpose wherein the finance is provided through the rural banks, we call it as a rural finance. The main crucial role of rural finances in supporting the development of rural areas to increase the productivity of agriculture and to increase the quality of life in the rural areas. So there are four different types of components in rural finance. Agricultural finance, wherein all the loans and credit facilities provided for the farmers farmers to purchase equipment or to increase the crop production or for the development of land and so on. And non-agricultural finance is where for small scale industries and retail shops for weaving, dairy farming, any of these non-agricultural activities can also be able to do with the help of finance through rural banks. Rural infrastructure is where for roads, irrigation, storage facilities. In most of the places, we can say the farmers can keep all their harvest, whatever they get, they cannot be sold at a time or on a single day. So that is the reason they want some cold houses, storage houses. So building of the development of these storage houses also will be possible through the help of rural banks. And in the villages, we can see a group of women will be forming into certain people will form into a group and they want to start some business like taking for starting up of the homemade food products, pickles, papads, or like to start a tailoring business or to start a small boutique. So like this, any of the small type of business for which the money or the loans which are provided is called as microfinance. So this type of loans will be provided to the low income either individuals or for the groups. Coming to the next, from where this rural finance can be get. So there are two types of sources, formal and informal sources. Coming to the formal sources, the commercial banks are the one through which these rural banks will get the money, and cooperative banks or the locally managed institutions which also provide financial services to agriculture or to the rural sectors, regional rural banks which are specially designed only to meet or cater the needs of the rural areas, and various government subsidies, loans are there which all are going to be provided through the NABARD. So NABARD is one of the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, which is going to provide need funding to support all the rural projects. So these are the four sources from which rural banks will get the money, and this can be utilized for the development of rural areas. Coming to the informal sources, money lenders will be there everywhere, but the main drawback with this available money lenders is they charge higher rates of interest, which everyone cannot be affordable. So that is the reason, though there are sources, but mostly the people in the rural areas are going to take the formal sources, and these through formal sources, rural banks will be fulfilling the needs. Friends and family, even they also lend without any formal process and all, but still in informal sources, there are a chances to pay high rates of interest, and after certain time the farmers or low income group people might feel burdened to pay to clear the debts. So formal and informal are the two sources of rural finance. And what is the major role of Reserve Bank of India in rural banking? So, rural banks are going to be monitored, regulated according to the terms, conditions, regulations of Reserve Bank of India. It is not only going to monitor, regulate the rural banks, but all the banks in the country are going to be regulated by Reserve Bank of India. So every bank has given a instruction that, and it also RBI also made it mandatory for all the banks to allocate certain some a small or certain percentage of their credit to the agriculture and rural areas, not only giving as a personal loans, or not only giving as a for vehicle loans, gold loans. Instead of these type of credit, it has made it mandatory. Certain portion should always be allocated for agriculture and rural areas on priority basis. So agriculture is treated as a priority sector for which every bank has to provide loans, and it is mandatory. And whether these rural banks are going to work and function in accordance with the rules and regulations of the RBI, and whether they are going to implement a sound or good financial and ethical financial practices or followed or not, will always be supervised by the RBI. And policy formulation. So all the policies with regard to how much money can be allocated for the agriculture sector, for promote, for granting of credit, and in order to get back again. So that money also should be taken back. The bank has to collect back from the persons, and how much expansion of credit can be done to the people. All these things are also going to be included in the policy, and accordingly, every bank has to perform their role. So various initiatives has also been taken over by many banks in order to promote uh, development or in the rural regions. So this is all about rural bank. So what all we discussed, rural bank. What is rural bank? Its objectives, from where the rural finance is going to be done. So formal and informal sources, and the role of RBI in rural banking. Coming to the next one, the cooperative bank. So the cooperative banks have been started, and there is some historical background for that. In the early 28th century, in order to provide financial services to the rural farmers and to the small scale industries, the cooperative banks have also been emerged, and these banks always play a significant role. So in the way, for example, if you just take like farmers in a village, they all can be, all the farmers in a village can form into one cooperative society, and they can help them access to loans collectively, so that individual risk will be reduced among the farmers. So the group I mean, like forming into a cooperative society is going to help to reduce the individual risk of the people. So the cooperative movement, which has begun in early 28th century, has helped these farmers and small scale business to access the credit without falling into the trap of any of the private money lenders. So this movement has led to the growth of these cooperative banks, and they are playing a very significant role in supporting all the agricultural credits. And the main milestones of these cooperative societies is it has been spreaded over across various states, not limited to one particular state. Every state, these type of cooperative credit societies have been emerged. And this cooperative credit banks have three-tier credit structure wherein at village level they will operate, and their primary and priority sector is agriculture. So at village level, they are promoting and coming to the next level at a district level. District center cooperative banks have been developed for the betterment, for improving the standard of living of the people, and to have a growth and development of the particular region at district level. And state level also, some apex banks were improved, and they are also going to support the primary agricultural credit societies at district central cooperative banks. So this structure mainly allows the rural areas to have access to financial support at every level, at village level, district level, and at the state level. At every level, they are going to get an access to the financial support provided by these cooperative banks. So the best example of Telangana's cooperative bank is Telangana State Cooperative Apex Bank. It is one of the best example because it acts as an highest cooperative bank in the state, overseeing smaller cooperative banks and providing all these small cooperative banks with the required financial support. It provides both short-term, medium-term credit facilities. All the banking services are also provided by this Telangana State Cooperative Apex Bank. So there are different schemes which were offered to the rural people in at district, village, and state level through these cooperative banks. They are crop loan scheme. So providing short-term loans to the farmers for crop production. So the short-term loans will help the farmers to get the what all the equipments and what all the seeds, fertilizers, what all are required for harvesting, that all will be able to get with this short-term loan, so that it helps in increasing the crop production. Coming to the agriculture infrastructure loans for building warehouses, cold storage houses in rural areas, the loans were provided, and there is a scheme separately from through cooperative bank for this. Self-help groups. So the loans are provided. Typically, the self-help groups will be comprised with women in therein to encourage the entrepreneurship and to increase the livelihood or activities, and to improve the standard of living of the people. This self-help group financing scheme was introduced by cooperative banks. And coming to the next is personal loans. So not only the loans were given for the farmers or for agriculture, non-agriculture, or self-help groups, the loans are also provided to the individual needs in rural areas. But comparing to the rate of interest of other three schemes, this scheme will have certain higher rates of interest. So these are the four schemes of cooperative banks. And coming to the next, cooperative banks and RBI's role in cooperative banks. So same like RBI, how it regulates and monitors the rural banks, in the same way, it also regulates and monitors cooperative banks to ensure that they maintain financial stability, and it also provides some refinancing facilities also with the help with the financial support from NABARD. So, and RBI is playing a very major role in providing certain schemes and granting of subsidies and providing technological financial support for the rural development projects like roads, transport, so the electricity. So these are the main things which should be focused. So for these rural area development projects will also be financed by this RBI. So coming to future. So though cooperative banks are providing a very variety of services and helping and playing a major role in the development of rural areas, but still there is a need to improve their services. Coming to the first point, digitalization, it has to move towards digital banking for efficiency. Adoption of digital banking platforms will help for providing a quick services and delivery of services within a short time to the needy people. So it also has to expand its services to the rural populations where still they don't have any branches or any sort of banks in their rural places. So unbanked rural population should also be able to get the banking services. So such type of areas should be identified and expand the services. So non-performing assets is one of the major issue in any of the banks. It means that if any of the farmer or any of the person fails to pay their loan amount for 90 days continuously for 3 months or 90 days, then by default we can say that the person has become that amount whatever is given as a credit will converting into non-performing asset. The assets which there is no benefit or no movement, and it has been like that only without any payment, such type of non-performing assets should be tackled. And tackling of this is a very challenging task for the cooperative banks. So they have to come up with some best ideas how to increase the capital adequacy and how to convert this non-performing assets into performing assets, and also to what extent it has to take responsibility and accountability, and to what extent the transparency it is going to maintain that accountancy, responsibility, transparency, together we call as governance. So that governance issues should also be tackled by the cooperative banks. They have to tackle with non-performing assets, and also they need more capital to increase their services and to improve the rural areas. So as rural bank is comprised with three, one is rural bank and cooperative banks, and coming to the next one is regional rural banks. So these regional rural banks or the third part of this rural banking concept, wherein these were set up in the year 1975 itself through certain Regional Rural Banks Act, mainly to provide credit and all the financial services to the rural economy. So the main aim of this regional rural banks is to improve the financial inclusion for small farmers, marginal farmers, artisans, and rural laborers. So for workers, for small farmers, artisans, farmers, for all these people, providing a financial assistance is the main objective, and with that, it has been started. So, financial inclusion, extending banking facilities, providing the credit facilities to the agriculture and its allied activities, and to promote the rural entrepreneurship and small scale industries. So, the capital structure of this rural banking, regional rural banks is the capital of regional rural bank is shared among the central government, state government, and sponsor banks. So there are some sponsor banks like Canara Bank, SBI, and ICICI, HDFC. There are some banks which are sponsoring some financial assistance or services to these regional rural banks. So the regional rural banks are going to operate at a local level, mainly focusing on rural development, agriculture, with suitable needs. So even every person who is in need of money, their needs will differ from one person to the other person. So this regional rural banks are going to customize and make the structure of finance in a simple manner to suit the needs of all the small borrowers. So, a customized loans will be provided, credit facilities will be provided to the small borrowers through this regional rural bank. So, this regional rural banks are going to be exempted from the tax because when comparing to the commercial banks, these regional rural banks' objective, its capital structure, its operations, services, that all are going to differ from the commercial banks. So that is the reason this regional rural banks are going to get certain tax benefits, and even the legal compliances, the legal requirements that are also very low comparing to the commercial banks. And this regional rural banks are going to get another concession, that is low cost funding. So they receive the funding from NABARD and other various schemes at low cost, and then helping them lend money affordably. So they get money first from NABARD and any government sponsored schemes are there. From all that schemes and NABARD, they get at a very less rate of interest, affordable rate of interest, and this money will be utilized for giving a loan to the farmers and small scale business. So the funding is at low cost. Coming to the credit policy of regional rural banks. So as we already discussed in the previous slides, we can say that regional rural banks main focus is on agriculture, small scale industries, rural development and micro enterprises. So with certain various schemes like crop loans will be there, and for artisans, for dairy farming, for self-help group women. So for all them at different rates of interest with different limits of money can be taken as a loan. Various short-term, medium-term and long-term loans were provided and through various schemes by this regional rural banks. So the main initiative which has been taken by this regional rural banks is supporting the self-help groups and joint liability groups. So the people who are going to form into a joint stock company at a small level, even for them, the financial assistance and support is provided by this regional rural banks. And coming to evaluation of performance. So, despite of many challenges, these rural banks have expanded over the time and contributed significantly to the agricultural productivity and also to the rural industrial growth. So, in terms of opening up of various branches or reaching to the customers in the villages these days, they are regulated, monitored, and made the process very simple and easy to everyone. Even illiterate person can be able to go and inquire about what are the schemes and benefits they can avail from the banks for increasing the production or for the best harvest or for any of the reason to start up a small enterprise with a low investment or any for of this, how you can lend, how much you can lend from the bank, and when it is to be repaid, at what interest rates the lending is going to be, and how what are the various schemes which are there. So there are certain schemes like all of a sudden in 1 or 2 years or 3 years once, the government will declare that all the loans, crop loans were vanished and all the crop loans were closed by the government. So these type of schemes will also be there, which many of the people doesn't know. That is the reason they will not take a next step for increasing their business. So these rural, regional, rural banks are going to help in all these areas wherein they can easily make the customer to approach them and avail the services. So customer outreach and lending, all these have been increased significantly with the help of this regional rural banks. So when agricultural sector has a good productivity and when money lenders are not ruling the market and when the small scale industries increase of self-help groups or they, when all these are happening, the income of the country will increase. So, first, as an individual, our standard of living increases, our income level increases. So, like that, when each individual in the country is going to get a reasonable income, and if the income of each individual increases, altogether the sector's income will increase, and then it helps in rural growth of the rural growth and development of rural areas. So the small scale industries are also going to get a support with this regional rural banks. Coming to the problems faced by regional rural banks. So, like cooperative banks, regional rural banks are also to be has also to face various issues. The first one is when the loans, bad loans or non-performing assets increases, they are going to affect the profitability of the bank. So when the profitability of the bank is going to affect, then the performance of that bank will not be good. The financial strengthness of the bank will decrease and the banks cannot survive for a longer period with less financial profile. So here non-performing assets should never be more in the banks. So they have to see that regularly the people were reminded with regard to their loans and encourage them and make them know and create awareness of certain type of schemes and what the government is providing, and they should be encouraged to pay on time and clear all the loans. So people in the villages who are low income groups and financially very weak, even after many reminders, they cannot be able to pay the loans. So because of that, what happens? The non-performing assets will increase. And some of the regional rural banks also suffering for poor governance, inefficiency. So the people who were taken as employees, they may not also have a clear picture of what is the main role of the bank, what are their duties and responsibilities. So we can see when we go to the bank, some people will be more knowledgeable persons and some people will not be because of any of the reasons. There might be inefficiency and inadequate management practices, poor governance. Governance includes what? Responsibility, accountability, transparency. When these are failed in in the operations of these regional rural banks, then the governance issues also to be addressed. That is also one of the major problem. And coming to the technological changes, the technology is changing every day. We can see like many technological advancements which were happening, and in rural areas, still there is no advanced technology or digital platforms, very active digital platforms to provide services. So the slow pace of digital adoption in rural areas is becoming one of the uh, obstacle to have a rural growth. So the advancement, technological adaptation is required and it is to be adopted so that the banks can improve their services and the customers will be satisfied with the services of the bank. And this adoption of advanced technology also is one of the proof for telling that there is a growth and development of rural areas. So the technological changes, governance issues, and high percentage of non-performing assets are the three major problems which are facing by the regional rural banks in India. Coming to the main differences between cooperative banks and regional rural banks. So, coming to the first feature, cooperative banks were owned by the members who form into a group in that particular rural area, and they form into a society, and this society people will get pool the loan money, pool all the service money which will be brought through various schemes of the government and all, and this money will be utilized for the development of rural areas. So the rural area people, they are only the members who own this cooperative banks. So like we can see like Sri Saraswati Cooperative Bank, Mahesh Cooperative Bank. These are the like people who a small group of friends or family members or the outsiders, neighbors with all a small group of people will form into a society community, and this they are going to form a cooperative society. Coming to the regional rural bank, it is owned because with a there is a share, like how much share of capital should be of central government, state government, and banks. So 30, so there are certain ratios in which they are going to take a share and accordingly they are going to serve. So It is owned of central bank, state government, and also the other banks. And coming to the focus, the main focus of cooperative banks is for providing a short-term agricultural loans and short-term loans for rural business. And the primary role of focus of regional rural bank is to provide a credit exclusively for agriculture and its allied or related sectors. Coming to the regulation, RBI and state governments will regulate this cooperative banks, whereas RBI will regulate the regional rural banks. The cooperative banks' profit motive will be less, whereas here in regional rural banks, though they perform commercially, but ultimately the main focus of both cooperative banks and regional rural banks is for the rural development. This cooperative banks will perform at a three levels, that is village level, district level, state level. Whereas coming to the regional rural bank, only the specific regions across the country will be identified, and only that geographical coverage will be taken for providing all the financial services. So if you take Telangana state, in Telangana state, different regions are there, and different places are there where they are highly developed, and some places are in still developing stage, and some places there is no basic facilities also. So such a type of regions where there is no proper basic facility will be identified. There a branch will be opened, and the sponsors like ICICI, HDFC, SBI, Canara Bank, like that, many commercial banks are going to sponsor the money to these banks to render the services and develop such a type of regions. So these are the main differences between cooperative banks and regional rural banks. So this is all about your block 4 rural banking. And in order to conclude, we can say that rural banking is a critical aspect which is going to help in economic development, supporting the agriculture, rural industries, and also encouraging entrepreneurship. So now with the concept of make in India, made in India, and with all this, we can say that we are making our own products, and we are going to supply to the others, like we are going to export. So with this, what happens? The income level of the country increases, the income level of each individual increases, and entrepreneurship rate is also increasing because of providing a varied services by these rural banks. Cooperative banks, regional rural banks, or and RBI initiatives, what all various schemes and regulations RBI has brought, all those initiatives, the services, objectives, the motive of cooperative and regional rural banks are all going to contribute towards the financial inclusion, rural prosperity. Yet we have observed few challenges, governance issues, non-performing assets, technological limitations. Though the challenges are there, but still they are performing well and trying to contribute towards the financial inclusion and rural prosperity. And by observing in the recent times, we can see that there are so many changes and developments, improvements which were taken in rural areas, and it cannot be happen over a night. So each region should be identified and it should be developed. And already all these challenges were started addressing, and still there is a chance for improving more facilities so that the sustainability and future growth of rural banking institutions can be made possible. So the challenges are going to be addressed for the future growth, and these banks are going to help in increasing the economic development of the country. So this is all about rural banks. So from first, just I will give a glimpse. Rural banks. So rural banking, what is it? Key objectives of rural banking, components of rural finance and the meaning of rural finance, for the sources from where the rural banks are going to get a money, like formal sources, informal sources are there, and the RBI is playing a major role in rural banking. And coming to the cooperative banking, the cooperative movement has led to the development of cooperative banks. So these cooperative credit structure will be functioning with three-tier structure, wherein it operates at village level, district level, and at the state level, where there are various schemes which were given by this, provided by this, and even RBI plays a major role even in cooperative banks. There are many challenges which are to be addressed so that the
Excuse me, madam.
future growth of banking will be made possible. Coming to the regional rural banking, so the object with certain objectives, concessions are there, and the credit policy is there. Special initiatives have been taken because these regional rural banks were regulated and monitored by RBI. So RBI has come up with this joint liability groups, self-help groups with, and this has led to the development increase of entrepreneurship rate in even rural areas. So these are the mainly coming to the features: ownership, focus, regulation, profit motive, and geographical coverage. There are few differences which were being identified with cooperative banks and regional rural banks. So this is all about the concept of rural banking in the syllabus, in the subject of money and banking.
Excuse me, madam. Good afternoon, madam.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
You shared the PPT, madam, from block one to up to this block.
Sorry, your voice is not clear.
No, no, my
Will you
PPT.
please send me the message so that I can see?
I have sent it, madam. Message. See, madam, please share PPT in chat box only. I have sent.
Okay, okay. I will just.
Yes, no. Again, I will also send. And important questions also we want. And again, you share PPT, madam. We will get very worry also the subject.
Okay, you want me to share the PPT, right?
Share the PPT and this PDF also. Share PPT and important questions.
Okay.
Means we are getting worry, madam. So that's why.
Okay. Just a minute, I will share the PPT.
Or give your mobile number, madam. We'll add in WhatsApp group. We'll add you in WhatsApp group.
Okay.
You tell me your mobile number. And you share the PPT in the mail me, madam. I will send mail
You
ID.
can please, yeah, yeah. To your mail ID, I will share you the PPT, and you.
Yeah. From block one to introduction to money and banking and another
Yeah, yeah,
second
that
block.
whole PPT,
This is
whatever I
which
explained
ah
now, that all
ah
will be shared with you. You can share with your batchmates.
okay. You share me in mail ID and important questions also from block one to now this block. Which block, madam? You are teaching rural banking,
It's a block 4.
block four. Huh? Okay. Up to. And Sunday is the last class, next Sunday. And tomorrow also it is their class. And you give your mobile number, madam.
I have made a note of your mail ID. There is some technical glitch. I am unable to upload the PPT in a just few minutes. After this session, I will share you. So all the important questions, details, everything I will share on your mail.
And madam, I want your mobile number, madam. If any doubt is there, means
Yeah,
mobile
yeah, I
number
will
and
share.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I will share everything to your mail.
Mail ID and ask students' mail IDs also and you share, madam.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
okay, sure.
I have given my mail ID and
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
I'm
have taken your mail ID. I'm going to send you now. In another 5-10 minutes, I will share. The network is slow, it's uploading still.
yeah, yeah. I want your phone number, madam. Phone number
Yeah,
and
yeah, I will share that also in your mail.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So,
Okay, then.
so we are
Thank you
getting
all.
worried and uh, hello.
అవినాష్ గారు మేడం సెండ్ చేసిన తర్వాత కొంచెం గ్రూప్ లో సెండ్ చేయరా?
ఓకే ఓకే చేస్తాను మమతా గారు. మీరు
చెప్పండి.
అకౌంట్స్ నోట్స్ ఏమైనా రాసుకున్నారా ప్రాబ్లం కానీ
లేదండి, నేను ఇవాళే అసలు క్లాస్ జాయిన్ అయ్యా. రిమైనింగ్ క్లాసెస్ నాకు అసలు కనెక్ట్ అవ్వలేదు.
ఏంటి నెట్వర్క్ ఇష్యూవా?
ఏమో తెలియదండి. నేను లాస్ట్ క్లాస్ కూడా ఓపెన్ చేసా సాటర్డే రోజు, ఆ రోజు అవ్వలేదు. మరి ఇవాళే అయ్యాయి క్లాసెస్ అన్ని. ఇవాళ వింటున్నా కంటిన్యూగా. మీరు కొంచెం ఎకనామిక్స్ గురించి మేడం పెడితే, ఎకనామిక్స్ కానీ బిజినెస్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్.
ఎకనామిక్స్ లే అదే ఇది ఇప్పుడు ప్రజెంట్ సెకండ్ సెమ్ కదా, ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఆఫ్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ అండ్ మనీ అండ్ బ్యాంకింగ్.
అవునవును, అది కొంచెం షేర్ చేయరా ఏమున్నా అవి? ఎందుకంటే చాలా లెంతీగా ఉంది ఇందులో, టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో చదవలేము అసలు.
అదే